Hello and welcome to another bright sunny day. The idea today was to go out and get some photos. There's a few areas here where I've actually taken the dogs for a walk or just peered down trails, and I've found some interesting areas of natural beauty to photograph, which is why I like to get out on the bike as well, because you can sort of have a good look around for stuff when you've got a bike that can disappear down trails and things. Anyway, that's one of my interests. I obviously like photography, I like travel, I like bikes, and occasionally the dogs get involved as well. Although generally speaking, with their walks and things, it tends to be a little bit of a slow affair because of Bernie's, well, he just likes to stop and sniff everything. So being a dog, we don't get around very fast. It's about every 10 or 15 metres, but I digress. Anyway, here we are heading off into the Biggin Hill area of Kent, and the main area that I wanted to go and see would have been just basically too brightly lit on this day actually for me to take the photographs of it. What I'm after is something where it's not quite as well lit, so I can actually shoot on a low exposure and get the highlights between trees, but without overlighting it. So basically you'll get the dark areas in rendered well, because normally with the dark areas they just show up as black, but you want to catch the actual contrast on the areas of bark and things on the trees. So here I am, hoping that I was going to get what I was going to get, but just looking at the light here, I could tell straight away it's not going to be the day that I wanted, basically, for this kind of photography. I've managed to take some great photographs with light that's sort of disappearing, strange enough, on an actual dog walk. Now, on that day, I was particularly unlucky in the fact that I normally carry a camera in my bag when I go out dog walking, just in case there's something I want to see or photograph, or just basically get an idea for a photograph later on. I can come back to it. But in that particular instance, I only had a bag with my mobile phone in it, so those photos were actually taken with a mobile phone, and that was the ideal time and date to take that kind of photo. Literally the air cleared, and that lovely sort of mist that we got in the woods had disappeared about half an hour later, and we normally go out for a walk for at least an hour, probably an hour and a half, maybe two sometimes, depending on how warm or how cold it is. So I was a bit unlucky there, but anyway, this was the trip out. Literally when I'm climbing up this slight hill here, I've already decided it's probably not going to be the day for my photos, not the ones that I wanted to do anyway. Just incidentally, there's a lovely woods just off the right hand side, a little bit further down here, and in the summer you can take some lovely woodland photos over that direction as well. But that wasn't my destination right now. Here we go, climbing up Gatescreen Road. Got to be a little bit careful up here, you get cars and things coming down here. Today I am out on the e-bike because I can carry a lot of, actually it's just an ideal bike actually for this kind of thing. You can carry cameras, tripods, batteries, even sort of light modifiers and things in the panniers on this bike. Unfortunately it does tend to weigh it down a little bit though. The bike, when it's laden up, can be anything over 35 kilos, so it's not exactly a lightweight bike. But if you're going to carry lots of stuff, and previously I bought this bike back in 2012, I think it was actually 2012, 2013, for commuting. I had a job that took me from Beckenham to Tolworth every day, and that meant carrying tools, laptops, change of clothes, everything else, and quite frankly it got a bit much carrying it all on the back on a rucksack on a normal racing bike. So I decided to invest in an e-bike purely for that commute, and it worked out really well. I did that for about 2 or 3 years, so it more than paid for itself by not having to use the car over that period of time, and it was dead reliable at getting me there on time as well, because traffic doesn't really make a great deal of difference when you're on a cycle. Slows you down by a few minutes, but you're not waiting 40 or 50 minutes in a traffic jam or even a temporary traffic light, so it doesn't tend to affect you. So they're an ideal option basically if you live, actually, do you know what, they say that most journeys are done within 5 or 6 miles, commuting journeys, and a normal bike will do that easily. It'll just take you a couple of weeks to get fit enough whilst you start riding, but after that you'll be off. The e-bike comes in handy if you're doing a commute that involves a fair bit of weight, especially if you're carrying a rucksack on your back, because that doesn't help stability normally, and it also makes you extra sweaty. With this particular bike, which I will make a video about fairly soon for the photography side, it's got a few things that I didn't think I'd ever like on a bike, one of them being mud guards. Now, I've had lots of racing bikes, and mud guards wasn't the thing I'd even considered before. Oh no, I'm not having that on my bike. No way. And then I tried a bike with mud guards in the rain, and I was a convert instantly. This bike also has a suspension fork on it, which is again something I wouldn't normally have on a road bike, and it adds to the weight. But if it's an e-bike, the weight's not really that much of a problem with it. And the ride comfort by having the suspension fork is very, very good. It also has big 42C tyres as well, and actually I've never measured it, but I could probably go up to 60 tyres, I would think, just like I've got on Frank, if I wanted to. The only thing I'd have to watch out for is the weight limit really on those, because I'm now 90 kilos or so, and the bike's quite a few kilos on top of that, so you don't want tyres that are going to be limiting the sidewalls with any weight restrictions, especially when you're going downhill and braking as well. Now, I like using it. It's got lights, it's got literally everything. It's got a sprung saddle, and again, another thing that I never ever would have wanted on a bike of my own, but because it's an upright bike, think of the position more upright even than a mountain bike, and you've got a lot of impetus when you go over bumps travelling up and down your spine. A nice sprung saddle makes such a difference. Honestly, this thing looks hideous, but it rides like a sofa, and when you're doing a fair bit of mileage and things on this thing, comfort and being able to just waft over potholes is something to behold, especially if you're coming from a racing bike background like me, where you've got lightweight wheels, fairly thin tyres. I mean, even 28s now I regard as fairly inadequate for the comfort side, but these are great, so it works well. And the other thing that it's got, which is ideal for photography, is a kickstand. Yep, another thing that I'd never thought I'd want on a bike, but on this particular bike it works out really well. I can bring the bike into wherever I need to take a photograph, so it might be a field, it might be down an uneven road or so. You can flick the kickstand up, the bike's upright, you can get a tripod out, you can get cameras out, you can get lenses out, you can get whatever you need out of this thing, and it's not lying on its side, or it's not resting precariously up against a wall somewhere. So it makes an ideal platform for going out and doing photography or videography. I do have cameras I probably won't carry on this bike. I've got a couple of Sony video cameras, which are proper tripod or shoulder held cameras, and they can weigh quite a bit, and they're quite bulky in size as well. Just looking at one there with the shoulder adapter on it, it's probably over 2.5 feet long, and it also weighs about 8 kilos with that kit on it as well. And the tripod that I use with that, which I have actually strapped to the back of the bike before. The tripod is a Sattler FSB6, so it's a fluid head video tripod, and it's probably about 6 kilos on its own as well. So I'm sort of conscious of the fact that the back wheel is maybe overloaded a fair bit if I take those cameras out on it. It's got me sitting directly over the saddle, which is the back wheel, so I'm 90 kilos. You've got a tripod, let's just say, weighs about 7 kilos, a camera that's on top of that. That's a lot of weight. That's forgetting any sort of DSLRs, batteries or other cameras that you might have on board as well. So it's not something I tend to weigh up. I mean, if I'm using those cameras for anything, it's going to have to be a drive to the location really, and then use them from there onwards. I've filmed I've videoed football matches for academies and things using that gear before, and you know, it's usually a couple of trips to the car and back to whatever platform you're using basically to film the game from as well. So it's not that man portable, to be perfectly honest. And a DSLR like I've got a Sony DSC RX10, which takes very, very good video, and that only weighs not even a kilo actually. And I've got a lightweight tripod that I can use with it as well, which is probably about 1.5 kilos, if that. So I tend to use those for sort of external video shots. I've got a couple of action cameras that I use. This is one that the filming's been done on right now, and they take pretty good video actually. They're Ion Air Pros, and you can stick them with a bit of Velcro to anything and make adapters for them, so you can house them in cars, on top of bikes. I've got a gimbal for one of them which works really well. So they're pretty good cameras, and they shoot at 1080, which is ideal. So it just makes it a lot easier basically to get out and do it. Now, as you can see here, if you know the area of Kent very well, we're on our way up. This is called Gatescreen Road, I think it is, and it takes you up to where the airport is. Now, when there's an air show on Biggin Hill, which there hasn't been that many of late, this road is completely blocked from miles back. There are a couple of other ways that you can get into it where you can avoid this particular road around the back of them, but eventually you're going to have to join it, and joining the road then becomes a problem. I've done quite a few air shows in my time up here, and they've all been a pain in the backside to get to and from. They're great once you're in there, unless you've got two small kids that are more interested in the fare than the aircraft, in which case you don't see any of it, but you pay for the privilege. Yep, that's happened to me before. But as an alternative, I would probably suggest people to either catch a bus up or park the car locally and then walk the rest of the way up if you do one of those. Literally sit an hour and a half in a traffic jam working your way forwards to it. This coming up here is the entrance to the airport. You can see it on the left hand side here. This is the main passenger terminal, and just a few hundred metres up, as if by magic, there it goes on the screen, you can see this great viewing point from the actual main road. You'll always see planes on the taxiway. You can see and hear planes doing their engine checks and things just off to the right here, and a little bit further to the right of what you can see there basically is where Formula 1 management is, but I can take a photograph or a video of that. I'll do that another day. And this was just a few minutes later, a helicopter coming into land. It's probably, well, you don't know, it's got some sort of VIP, probably doing a quick trip into Biggin Hill Airport, possibly even to catch a private jet somewhere else from here. There are quite a few stars that use the airport. I believe Tom Cruise uses it quite frequently as he lives locally now. And also you have people coming for all sorts of things, basically flying to Biggin Airport. Formula One drivers use it. Hollywood A-listers for various events and things have used it before. It is a very central and easy to get to place with not too much in the way of traffic. Oh, and look, there's the Spitfire. Now, this Spitfire is operated by I believe the Heritage Museum actually, and you can buy flights in it. They're not cheap, they wouldn't be, but they fly from here to various other places. And it's just a lovely thing to see and hear go up. I generally hear it go up almost every day actually when I'm taking the dogs for a walk, which is probably about 3 miles down the road from here. I have heard other planes with Merlin engines being fired up on the hill as well. You can hear them quite clearly on certain days when people are not having their houses modified with saws and things. That happens quite a lot around here. But anyway, so here I am finishing up. That's it, literally to the left hand side here where the camera's looking. That building beyond the car park is Formula One management, which is run through here. So all the broadcasting basically from around the world organisation used to be done through that. I'm not quite sure whether it still is, but the building is still Formula One management. There are lots of cars and things in there on race days. I've to the left here that I haven't got it, typical fashion, but I thought I'd let you know about that. But it is a great, Biggin Hill is a fantastic place to come up to if you've got absolutely nothing to do. There's always something going on there, and literally in the car park we just went past, there's tea stands and all sorts of things there. So even if you want to spend just half an hour or an hour chatting with someone or catching up with people, so it's an interesting place to go to. I always find it quite calming to come here. Now we're heading off towards Jail Lane here, which is usually part of the journey that I run. If I've got an hour or so, I'll go up to Jail Lane, turn left, head towards down, and then back through the main road that crosses, I think it's the A232 actually, that crosses Biggin Hill and then back home again. That's an hour's worth of riding. So for me, that's hilly one way and then downhill most of the other way. There are a lot longer rides along here. If you carry on down here, it'll take you to a place called Gray's Lane. That's got some hills that you can head down. It's got Old Trough Hill, Braisted Hill, Sundridge Hill, and if you go further round a bit on the A25, you can come up Star Hill as well, which joins the M25. They're all great climbs around here. Sundridge Hill is probably not a hill I would like to climb up, purely because it's very narrow. You'll only get one car down there, and even then it's a bit of a squeeze. And you don't want to be going up. You don't want to be going up there while some Land Cruisers coming down at the same time. You'll be stopped, and it's quite difficult to get restarted again. And that will happen a good few times on that climb. I know I've done it. It's just not good. But the other ones are Braisted Hill's quite a good one. That's about 16 or 17%, and it's straight up and very demoralising as you look at it. Anyway, I did come out for some photos. I didn't get what I wanted, but you can see some of my photography here. This is from a trip in Scotland, which I very much enjoyed and want to get back to. This was a Goodwood Festival, a speed photo. Actually, I think my son took that one, actually. These are local woods, which I enjoy getting round. They're all really, really good fun, basically, for getting out on. The bike's one of the things that gets me there, and it allows me to enjoy another hobby that I love doing. I would say e-bikes are pretty good. If you want a way to commute to and from work and you're not a bike rider, an e-bike might get you riding. To be honest with you, you might be better off with a normal bike to start with if it's only a short journey, because the fitness benefits are better. However, They always say that an e-bike, you won't get sweaty unless you're trying to go fast. Every trip I've ever done in that bike, I've ended up sweaty because I want to go fast on it. So not necessarily true on that one. Anyway, have a great time. Thanks for watching. Like and subscribe, please. Thank you. Bye.